Alright, fellow hunters, time to take a look at the second episode of the day, which is 99 Problems. The Winchesters are speeding down the road, battered and being pursued by demons. Sam is doing urging Dean to drive faster, but has to slam on the brakes after taking a turn that ends at a fiery barricade. When the demons pounce and attempt to drag them out of their car, three people in a water truck appear to turn the hose on them. As the demons sizzle, one of the group recites an exorcism right through a megaphone, and the demons immediately smoke out. The man makes sure that the stunned Winchesters are okay. Winchester Be Careful says there's no need to thank them when the boys call after them to find who they are. They're the Sacramento Lutheran militia, he says. The call informs them that those were demons and that the apocalypse has begun. After they reveal the hunting arsenal in their trunk and convince the militia members that they're on the same team, the Winchesters are invited to follow them back to their town. They're after their church in Blue Earth, Minneapolis, or Minnesota, rather, where many are gathered for a wedding ceremony officiated by Pastor Gideon. The pastor later meets the boys and shows them to the command center in the church basement. He tells them the whole town is armed against the swarms of demons. The pastor himself is strapped with a sidearm and young children are packing salt rounds. He says they're forced to take such measures because the demons were killing them. When asked why they didn't call in the National Guard, his sister were told not to, but refuses to say by whom. They press him, knowing that the exorcism that they invoked at the roadblock was Enochian and therefore had to have been provided by an otherworldly source. He maintains that he can't discuss it, but when his daughter Leah interjects, "It's okay, Dad, it's Sam and Dean Winchester. They're safe." She says she knows all about them, thanks to the angels. The boys are unhappy to hear they've been the subject of angel communiques, but Leah assures them that the Enochian warning mentioned to their ribs is keeping them cloaked. Just the angels have been showing her where the demons are and how they can protect themselves against them through visions. They verified that she receives these visions through severe flashing headaches, as probably the last prop they encountered in the monster at the end of this book. Later, Sam tries to reach Castiel via phone but ends up leaving a message asking for his help. He interrupts Paul's bar where business is brisk. Paul comments to Sam that it's like one long last call ever since the end of the world began. As Sam discusses why the demons seem to be targeting Blue Earth, Sam expresses scorn towards the angels for having these people do their demon dirty work with little regard for their lives. Dean, however, has become resigned about the world's end and reckons that since at best it'll be a couple months before everyone dies, it's not such a bad thing that these folks are running to the exits in an orderly fashion instead of freaking out. Unable by Dean's defeatism, Sam sharply asks, "Was this all going to die? Whatever happened to us saving them?" Dean seems rattled by the question before he finds a response. The bell rings in the distance and the bar patrons start filing out of the bar. On his way out, Paul explains that the church bell is a signal that Leah has had another vision. They go to church where Leah, by whispering to her father, announces the whereabouts of a group of demons sheltered on the outskirts of town, and Pastor Gideon calls for volunteers to join him in dealing with them. Rob is the first to raise his hand, and Paul is next, joking that someone needs to cover Rob's ass, and Dean volunteers himself and Sam. As Pastor leads a prayer for protection, Sam notices that instead of bowing his head to pray along with everyone else, Paul pulls out a flask and raises it to a disapproving Rob before taking a swig. The group considering Pastor Gideon, Rob's wife Jane and son Dylan, Paul and the Winchesters, descends on the demon house. With varying combinations of rock salt rounds, exorcisms, holy water backpack sprayer blast, hand-to-hand combat, and the demon-killing knife, they eliminate the demons they're in. As they emerge, Sam taking knowledge how nice it is to have proper backup for once. Dylan gets his parents okay to ride back to town with the guys as the others drive away. Dean tosses him a beer in appreciation of his having saved him in two close scrapes at the house. As Dylan leans against the pile and takes a sip, he's supposed to grab him by his ankles and dragged underneath the car. Dean races around to help him while Sam drags the demon up from their side and kills it, but not quickly enough to save him. At Dylan's funeral, Dean offers condolences to Jane and Rob as they arrive, but grief-stricken Jane hisses, "This is your fault." As Pastor Gideon tries to offer some words for Rob and Jane, Leah collapses from the front pew and appears to have a seizure. When it passes, she declares that Dylan is coming back. She regains her composure, calmly tells Rob and Jane they will see Dylan again because he will be resurrected on Judgment Day. She goes on to tell the congregation that together they will see the loved ones again because the angels have chosen them to receive paradise on earth. All they have to do is follow the angels' commandments, which include no drinking, no gambling, and no premarital sex. As they exit the church, Sam tries to gauge Dean's reaction to hearing that a few of his favorite things have just been outlawed. When Dean's response is basically unresponsive, yeah, well, whatever, when in Rome, Sam is quizzical. Dean offers only that he's neither cool with it nor not cool with it, because it isn't his call. He tries to go back inside the church, telling a slightly confused Sam that he'll catch up with him later. Dean returns to Leah, wanting to know if she is legitimate and to find out exactly what the angels have been telling her about paradise. She tells him about the distant prize fight, which will be really bad, but that we will ultimately win. When that happens, the planet will be handed over to the Chosen and finally become a peaceful place where you are surrounded by the people you love, a world devoid of monsters, disease, and death. When he Sally comments that it must be nice being chosen, Leah replies that he is chosen. He scoffs, yeah, more like cursed. As he rises to leave, she comments that it must be hard for him to being the vessel of heaven, but having no hope. He is visibly affected by her remark. Sam revisits Paul's bar and finds him there all alone. He tells Sam the apocalypse is no longer for business since Leia's angel pals put the kibosh on the town's popular pastimes. Paul loves to protect his hometown, but has no time for holiness. Sam comments he did happen to notice his rebuff of the prayer earlier. Sam confides that half of the guys in the military are the same way, and so recently could still be found boozing and or banging the nanny. Now they become warriors of God. He's not sure if there is a God or not, but he's never prayed, and believes it would be better to be hypocritical to start now. He asks Sam if he is a true believer. Sam says he doesn't believe in God, but is pretty sure that he has stopped caring. He is sitting soberly in the motel when Sam stumbles in. He admits he's been drinking, and says he would still be at it if not for the newly established curfew. The other seems to the fact that all the cell towers in town have been shut down, and all internet cable access has been blocked to eliminate the corruption of the outside world. Sam supposed to be as incensed as he is that the angels have people wound so tightly that they're turning the town into a fundamentalist compound. But to surprise, Dean is projecting only weary indifference. Angel rolls is his assessment, like in the world of the Titanic with the angels holding all the lifeboats. Dean doesn't see how or why by whom everyone's to be saved, because it was supposed to be them, but they can't do it. Sam can abide by Dean's turn and pleads, "You can't do this." Dean's home replies, "Actually, I can." Sam keeps at him, reiterating that there's no one else he can count on, and he cannot do it alone. Dean decides he needs to clear his head and walks out, ignoring Sam's warning that it's past curfew. At the church, Pastor Gideon is working alongside other militia members when Leia enters, panicked. She tells him the angels are angry and say they can't go to paradise. They don't understand why, since they've been doing as they're told. Leah says the angels are fierce because some individuals aren't following their commandments. Rob asks her to name names. Dean is still began when he hears shouting and shattering glass inside Paul's bar. Events Paul Rob tussling about amid a group of townspeople, where Pastor Gideon tries to pray a baseball bat from Rob. Yes, the pastor needs a hand, and he responds by calling for everyone to just cool down. Paul asks how he can't go down when his friends are trying to run him out of town. Rob shouts he needs to leave, for the greater good. He's sorry, but says it's not their choice. That's bull, says Paul, reminding Rob they grew up together and that he stood up at his and Jane's wedding. Jane chimes in, coldly believing that was then, but now he's standing against a flock of true believers. Paul rejects that, pointing out that he fights with them. Rob tells him not to make this any harder for them. He rejects that as well and reminds him that Blue Earth is his home too. It makes it clear that the only way they remove him will be to drag him out. When Rob moves to make that so, Jane clocks him to prevent him. As the two of them struggle, Jane shoots Paul dead, declaring that no one will stop her from seeing her son again. Meanwhile, at the motel, Kessel finally arrives in response to Sam's voicemail, drunk and a bit surly. He was to Sam they found a liquor store and drank it. Sam starts to describe the demon attacks. Cassio asks if there's any sign of angels. Sort of, says Sam. Their business channeled their prophet Leah Gideon. Cassio immediately corrects him. The names of all the prophets are seared into his brain, and Leah Gideon is not one of them. Dean returns to the motel room with news of Paul's killing. It's starting, says Castiel. He said before him that the being impersonating Leah is actually what the book of Revelation identifies as the whore of Babylon. Horizon where Lucifer walks the earth bearing false prophecy, who possesses the power to take human form and read minds. He says the demons Hackentown are actually under her control. The so-called exorcism she provided is fake, and that actually translates as Enochi and blue humor. They're smoking out, and the promises of paradise are part of the manipulation to achieve exactly what Dean witnessed. Innocent blood spilled in God's name. We're going to condemn as many souls hell as possible. All right, says Dean with a bit of energy. How do we go pimp a Babylon all over this bitch? In the church office, Jane and Rob are seeking counsel from Leah. Jane is sobbing, extremely fearful that by gunning a man down on his own property for selfish reasons, she may have angered the angels further and made things worse. Leah assures Jane that the angels understand what she did was for the greater good, because Paul was a sinner who would have dragged the rest of them down with him. Pastor Gideon overhears this exchange and voices his disbelief that Jane's heinous sin could be okay with the angels. Leah counters that it's not a sin to strike down evil. As he starts to protest further, she interrupts him by reminding him that he's always taught her to have faith. The pastor is stunned. Castiel obtains the required weapon, a stake he made from a Babylonian cypress tree. He informs Sam and Dean it's simply not a matter of just anyone ventilating her. However, because the stake must be wielded by a true servant of heaven in order for it to kill her. Because Castiel's defiance has separated him from heaven, Dean refuses to submit to the will of angels and Sam considered an abomination. The three of them do not qualify. At the church, Leah holds the full attention of the congregation as Pastor Gideon nervously stands offside. Shalom informs them the final judgment is to commence at midnight, but the angels have warned her that they are not quite ready. There are still a few sinners among them that need to be taken care of. The pastor realizes she's frightening everyone and tries to inject calm. Leah continues telling them she's been given instructions and a list of names, and time is running out. When he grabs her and tells her to stop before someone gets killed, she warns him to unhand her, or else he'll be the next sinner she names. He leaves the church discouraged. Castiel appears to him and identifies himself as an angel of the Lord, but teleporting him to the motel room when Dean and Sam await. They explain why, as a true servant of heaven, he must be the one to complete the task. He says there's no way he could kill his daughter. The point of that it's not his daughter. It's probably been dead for months. It is the thing that killed her. They perceive he already knows deep down it's not Leah, and trust that if he doesn't kill it, innocent people are going to be killed and the others damned to hell. As Castiel sits outside the hotel later, Dean offers him some hangover meds. Still despondent since learning his search for God was futile, he asks Dean, an expert on deadbeat dads, how he manages. On a good day, Dean says firmly, you get to kill a whore. At the church, Jane and Rob are among those who have apprehended people named on the list of sinners as instructed. Once they are locked at the storeroom, they're instructed to go get the kerosene. Jane hesitates, protesting that there are children in the group. Leah says firmly that the angels have provided their names for a reason, and convinces Jane by adding that her son needs her to do it. When the horse next alone in the church office, Castiel appears and restrains her from Pastor Gideon's mistake. She whispers to the pastor as his daughter, causing him to hesitate long enough for her to utter a knocking spell that floors Castiel and leaves him writhing in pain. She connectedly thinks the pastor and the Winchesters across the room and runs out into the common area. The pastor recovers and pursues her, but she screams to the others that he is a demon. When he sees him, the cypress branch goes flying. She orders Rob and Jane to burn the people in the storeroom, but Sam manages to pummel Rob and restrain Jane before they can ignite the kerosene. The whore knocks Dean back into place in chokehold. When she sees he's grabbing for the stake just out of his reach, she sears and berates him as he's a pathetic, self-hating, faithless so-called servant of heaven who was just going to sit back and watch she enter the world. Dean finally stretches far enough and grabs the stake, punches in her toaster with a twist and snarls, "Don't be so sure, whore." Everyone witnesses the whore's true visage as she convulses and glows. The The stake flames up and finally explodes as she expires. She wonders out loud how they'll get to paradise now. Dean tells her he's pretty sure she's headed in a different direction. There's a voice to support the wounded Castiel pastor to get them out of the church. Sam saw how Dean was able to vanquish the whore. No night she's going to be ganked by a servant of heaven. Dean tries to attribute it to luck, but Sam wants him to say he's not planning to do something stupid, as in Michael's stupid. Dean asks as though he's offended by the suggestion, but Sam looks worried. His fears realized later, when the pretense of going to get bandages for the trunk, Dean jumps at the pole and speeds off, leaving frustrated Sam in the parking lot yelling after him. As he drives, Dean decides to visit Lisa Braden. She's surprised to see him and asks if he's okay. He somewhat awkwardly tells her that even though he accepts his life and has no illusions of how it will likely turn out, he just wanted her to know that whenever he imagines himself happy, it's with her and Ben. Lisa says she wants that too, and tries to get him to go inside and talk, protesting that he can't just stop by and drop a bombshell like that and leave. He tells her he's sorry, but he can't stay. He says to warn her that in the next few days, things are going to get worse than bad, but not to worry because the people he's going to see next will not get what they need from him unless they agree to a few conditions. He's making arrangements for her and Ben. Confused, she begs him to do whatever it is he's thinking of doing, but says he has to. He kisses tearful Lisa goodbye and leaves. Aww. So let's take a look at some continuity from this episode. Lisa Braden is last seen in the season 3 episode Dream a Little Dream of Me. The news that God no longer cares about the apocalypse is having detrimental effects on both Dean and Castiel. Dean's thinking about saying yes to Michael, and Castiel has taken up heavy drinking. Due to his willingness to serve as Michael's vessel, Dean is now a true servant of heaven. Castiel says to Pastor Gideon, "I'm an angel of the Lord." He said exactly the same thing to Dean when they first met in Lazarus Rising. In this episode, however, he is drunk, demoralized, and bitter, and sounds almost disgusted with himself, making for an extremely humorous comparison. Dean said, since the angels got their lifeboats on the Titanic. Ironically, the Winchester counter in a situation where the angels scuttled the Titanic and my heart will go on. And now finally, let's take a look at some trivia from this episode. The episode's name comes from the fact that this is the 99th episode of the series, and it's the 99th problem the Winchester brothers have faced on screen. The episode also makes a reference to the song 99 Problems by Jay-Z. Jay-Z must be feeling sorry for them, as the bitch was one of their problems. Michael Shanks, who guest starred in this episode as Rob, is best known for playing the character Dr. Daniel Jackson from Stargate SG-1. Other actors in Stargate series are known to play characters throughout the show, notably Julie McNiven, Mitch Pileggi, and Amanda Tapping. Michael Shanks also guest starred in Smallville's Carter Hall, a series where Jensen Ackles starred as a series main character in season 4 as Jason Teague. The town of the episode takes place in Blue Earth, Minnesota. Previously appeared in Salvation. It was located to Pastor Jim Murphy where he was killed by Meg. When Sam and Dan are drinking in the bar, the town bell rings and everyone leaves. Dean says, "Was it something I said?" This may reverse a similar incident occurring to Leon in Resident Evil 4. The related location of a demonic attack, David Gideon says they are 3 miles off of Talmadge Road, and Lee Gideon corrects him to 5 miles. This may reference to Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So I think this episode is kind of interesting, and yeah, I'm kind of worried about what's happening with Dean and his whole nonchalantness and what he did and what he's considering and everything that happened at the end of the episode. So yeah. So overall, I give 99 Problems 4 Impalas out of 5. Well, anyway, tune in a bit as we take the final episode of the day, Point of No Return. So until then, carry on, my wayward sons and daughters.